Are you lost in the chaotic whirlwind of day-to-day busyness? Do you yearn for a deeper sense of meaning and purpose in your life? Welcome to Be You, Your Story, Your Purpose, the podcast dedicated to empowering women on their journey of self-discovery and finding their true purpose through their own story. I'm your host, Brenda Simmons. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Brenda Simmons, and I am your host. And today I want to talk with you about the power of pondering. Now, this is something that I have had to learn how to do. I am an extrovert, and I really feel like extroverts really struggle with this a little bit more just because, the definition of an extrovert is you have to get things outside of your body in order to process them. And that is something that, to think inside of my brain and to think, with purpose has been a skill that I've really had to learn. And it was triggered by my husband. So my husband is an introvert and a really, really strong introvert. So he loves to spend time thinking. In fact, one day I was going down into our basement in our home in Missouri, and my husband's just laying there on the couch, and I could tell that he wasn't asleep. And so I asked him, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm pondering. And I initially thought, what a waste of time. I was like, why would you spend time just thinking when you can do that while you're doing other things? And you can do that while you're helping me in the house or helping me do the yard work, or there's so many things that you can do, but to take time to just lay there and just think, like, I did not see the value in that at all. In fact, I was kind of mad that he wasn't doing something. And that has I've thought about that a lot. And I thought, well, what if there's something to that? What if there's something that I need to learn from pondering? And so over the years, I have made it a point to really spend some time learning how to ponder. And so I want to share with you today some of the things that I have done and some of the things that I have learned from pondering. So let's define it. Let's get that out of the way first. What is pondering? Pondering is deep, purposeful thought. It involves considering and reasoning, and it includes feelings and emotions, and it takes time. It's not something that you can just think one and done. Like, it takes time to ponder. And so you really have to make sure you take that time to go deep. Because what happens, it will end up culminating in a personal witness. I'm going to say that one more time because I think that's really profound. Pondering culminates in a personal witness. So whatever it is that you're thinking about, you're going to be able to make a decision, and you're going to know why you will stand behind that decision. And here's the thing, pondering can only be done by you. Somebody else cannot do it for you. It has to be done by you. Now, unfortunately, there are some people who don't do pondering. Remember how I was one of them. So why is it that some people don't do it? Well, like me, maybe some people think it's a dumb thing to do, or maybe they, a waste of time, or maybe they think that they don't have time to do it. Maybe, and I've seen this in a lot of people, they don't really like themselves. And so to spend time alone with themselves, with their own thoughts, is really disturbing because their thoughts are super negative and their emotions are negative, and there are things that they don't want to even get close to thinking about. And then there's other people who just don't know how. What does the pondering mean? And what does it look like for me, right? And so that is an education that needs to happen. And I'm right along with those people. I had to learn how to ponder because it was not something that I knew how to do. It was not something that I had value in. There were times that I really didn't like myself. So why would I want to spend time with my own thoughts? And so I kind of fill all of those holes. And there might be some other reasons why people don't do it, but I believe that those are the main ones that I have seen personally in my own life. So why is pondering so valuable? Well, there's lots and lots of reasons that I found throughout the years. Number one, you really do get to know yourself, and that can be the biggest blocker to accomplishing your goals and your dreams. You can be your own blocker. And so it's really important to understand who you are and what makes you tick. What are the triggers that you have? What do you like and what do you don't like, and why? That why is so, so important. If somebody asks you, well, what's your favorite this or that? If you don't know the answer to that, it's because you haven't thought about it. And I go through this all the time. And a lot of times I don't want to think about it because I don't care. And that's another thing also. You might not really care about that topic, but that shouldn't prevent you from actually thinking about it. Why? So we also get to know ourselves by, asking ourselves, why do I say and do the things that I say and do? We can think about what are the mistakes that I have made in a particular situation or life in general, and how can I then correct them? What is the best path for me? So to ponder, your own self and really get to know yourself is so, so valuable because you cannot really take your life in a direction that is going to be meaningful to yourself if you don't understand yourself in the first place. So, pondering is also creative time, and this is so wonderful. It is idea generation. It helps you to solve your problems. It helps you to make plans. It helps you to visualize possibilities. So, being able to tap into the creative side of your brain really can only happen if you take that time to ponder about it. I have also found that pondering allows me to listen to my body. Our bodies say things to us all the time. They're communicating nonstop to us. The problem is we don't always understand what it's saying. And so we need to take the time to figure that out. And, it could be, where are our emotions lodging themselves? Where are we feeling all the feels? What kind of foods are or aren't working for you? What are your pains telling you? There's so many things that we can learn from our bodies by just taking the time to be still and listen to what it's trying to say. I did this a whole lot, especially when I was dealing with a herniated disc a couple of years ago. And I kept thinking, because the disc it got worse and worse and worse. And not just the disc, but then it would radiate out to other parts of my body. And I was so frustrated because I was in pain all the time. And so I had to take the time several times a week. I would do this, just to sit there and listen. What is my body saying to me? What is it that I need to do? What posture do I need to be in to alleviate some of the pain? What are some of the exercises that I need to do to help me heal? On and on and on and on of just how can I learn about my body and what it's trying to tell me. So pondering also is a time where we can receive inspiration. And I like to think about this about horizontal connectivity and vertical connectivity. So horizontal is going to be like your relationships that you have right now. Whereas, and then vertical is more of a spiritual connection, connecting to your higher power, connecting to the earth. And I love to take the time to just be still and just think, how am I connecting both horizontally and both vertically in my life? And how can I make those relationships more meaningful? I especially love doing this when I'm grounding. So, like when I've got my feet in the grass or I'm out on a walk, I'm like immersed in nature in some way. It just really helps me to focus in a little bit more on that connectivity and learn what I can about those relationships. So super, super important time to ponder is when you need to receive some personal inspiration. Another reason why pondering is so valuable is that we can learn so much. It takes so much time to, think about this. When you're in school, and I know many of you are not in school anymore. It's been many years since I've actually been in school, yet I've taken a lot of courses and I've done a lot of my own personal study. When you are studying something, your brain doesn't just study that when you're reading about it. Your brain, even subconsciously, is going to mull over it and it's going to make connections. And if you don't take the time to ponder and really bring those connections from your subconscious to your consciousness, then you're going to really miss out on a deeper understanding of what you're trying to learn. I remember once my husband and we were painting this home out in Missouri, and this home was over 100 years old, like super, super old. And so we were painting it, and there was a lot to do. Well, when you're painting, it's a lot of kind of mindless work. And so you're either listening to something or you're talking or you're doing something to engage your mind because it's so monotonous, the physical activity. And I found like cleaning is like this, or there's a lot of different things that are give your brain an opportunity to have some space, right? So I'm sitting there and my husband is on a different section and I didn't have my phone, so I didn't have anything to listen to that day. And at first I was like, "Oh my gosh, like what am I gonna think about all day?" It was the best day painting ever because I didn't have my brain filled with stuff, you know, audially, and so it allowed my brain that space to really focus in on some things that I was studying. And man, I gained so much insight and I had so many epiphanies and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so amazing." Just because I didn't fill my brain with this out external stimulus. I gave my brain the space to really ponder and to really go deep and to think about those connections that subconsciously it was already doing, but then to bring them to my conscious was really, truly amazing. Okay, finally, pondering is super valuable because it is the first act in controlling your life. Now, I want you to think about this. All thought, whether it's conscious or subconscious, leads to your reality, right? Our thoughts lead to our emotions lead to our actions, and our actions lead to the results, right? So it all starts with our thoughts. So Bob Proctor, he said, if you can think it in your brain, then you can hold it in your hand. So think about that. If you can think it in your brain, you can hold it in your hand. It actually first comes from your thought. So if you don't take the time to ponder, to decide what you really want, what is it you want to hold in your hand, then you are essentially giving up your control of your own life to somebody else. You are letting somebody else say, well, this is what I want for you. And then you just fall into line with that. So it takes thought to move your life in a direction that you want to know or that you want to do, but it doesn't happen until you've actually thought about that. So valuable to take the time to ponder, to know what you want and to know where you really see yourself going and then to figure out how to get there. Okay, so we've talked about what it is and why it's important. So how do you ponder? And again, this is something that I had to learn. I was so bad at it. And I'm going to amend that. I could think, right? And I had lots of thoughts and I would learn and stuff like that. But to really be effective at pondering took me a while to develop that skill. All right, number one, you've got to make time for it in your day. And, if you're a morning person, then consider that making it a part of your morning routine. I know for me, I definitely am more of a morning person. But there is something magical about 4:30 in the morning. And I know that's so early. And there are times when I'm like, oh, I don't want to get up. And but I tell you what, the times that I have taken to get up that early in the morning so that I can ponder, I have never regretted it because I have received so much inspiration. I've understood so much about myself. I've understood so much about other people because I took the time to ponder. And there is something super magical about that 4:30 hour. I don't know what it is, but it's just nothing like anything else that I've experienced. So put the time in your day, whether it's in the morning, whether it's in your car. That's another place where I like to do it. Just turn everything off and just start thinking about different things. But if you are a nighttime person, then consider taking that time before you go to bed. That is certainly not me. My brain totally shuts down at night, so it is not effective for me. But if that works for you, then consider building that into your evening routine. Just taking that time to spend some time with yourself, with your own thoughts. Another way to do it is to have a purpose, right? So pondering is not mind wandering. When you wander, it doesn't direct you anywhere. You become subject to the whims of what's going on around you. And so don't think that just by letting your mind wander, that's pondering. That's not what it is. You've got to have something purposeful that you are thinking about. Maybe you're looking for a solution to a problem. Maybe there's a concept that you're trying to understand. Maybe you're reflecting on something that happened and you're processing, how could I have done better in that situation or what do I need to do going forward? So there's so much that you can get out of the time you spend pondering when you've got a purpose for that pondering. Another way to do it is to be honest with yourself. And I have found this to be vastly important. We have to really understand what we're doing. You kind of have to take a bird's eye view and be an observer of your thoughts while you're thinking them. And this can kind of be tricky. Again, it's a skill that you have to develop. But think about this. If your current thoughts led you to where you are now, then you've got to generate new and different thoughts to get you to a different place. That's fact. That's the way it works. And so you've got to recognize, where have you been wrong, or at least, is it time to change, and what is that change that needs to happen? So we've got to be open to new thoughts, and being honest with ourselves allows us to do that. It allows us to be able to understand the changes that we need to make, to understand the patterns that we tend to do all the time. We all do them. We all have thought patterns and we all have action patterns. And so to take the time to really look at what those patterns are, to be that observer and to see what it's doing in our lives, what the results are of those patterns, that is so, so powerful. And we cannot do that unless we're honest with ourselves. We cannot do that if we're honest with why we're doing those things. And so that is a fantastic thing to ponder, just how we can be more honest with ourselves in what we're doing. All right. Another way to ponder is to explore different angles, different viewpoints, different perspectives. Ask lots and lots of questions to yourself, basic questions like, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? And then also to go deeper into questioning your assumptions. Sometimes by taking a reverse thought, if A leads to B, then does B lead to A? And really think about, what are the different outcomes of different actions. Then we can also consider other people's point of view. What would lead them to come to the conclusions that they're getting, and to really understand where other people are coming from, is so important, because it helps us to have so much compassion and empathy for other people. And again, it helps us to be honest with ourselves on why we're doing it as well, right? So they all kind of interplay there. And then finally, when you are done pondering, I highly recommend writing down your thoughts. What are the conclusions that you came out of pondering? I have received so many epiphanies from pondering, and I've had so many new thoughts. And I tell you, the times that I write them down, it's like I remember them even more because I've taken the time to write them down. And you will be amazed at how many times, if you don't do this, you will receive an epiphany, and then a day later, you're like, oh, I can't remember what that was. And if you write it down, then you've got that to reference. So don't be like me and sometimes lose them. Just take the time to write down what it is that you were pondering and what it is that you got out of that. So these are some, I hope this helps you, these steps and these tips on how to develop this skill of pondering. And because I have just found in my life, it is so, so powerful. There truly is power in pondering. And if you want to lead an intentional life, then harnessing that power of pondering is a vital skill. So go and do. And I know that as you do this, you are going to learn a lot about yourself, a lot about other people, a lot about the world in general, and it truly will be powerful for you. And I hope you know that there is power in yourself, that you have a purpose, and that purpose is found in your story. And until next time, take care.
Celebrate your dreams, let them take flight, for you are a star, shining bright in every step you take. Let your